Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. So happy to welcome our longtime friend, Lynn Goodwin-Shaver from Super Learning Center. Good morning.
Hi, Suze. Good morning.
Always glad to see you.
It's like coming home.
It is. It's like having you come home. And always exciting things happening at Super Learning Center. If you wouldn't mind, can we go back to how this all started in your basement with your own, just as a concerned mother?
Yeah. Super Learning Center is a chartered non-public school for special needs children that was founded in my basement from the need of my own daughter that had special needs. And I decided to homeschool her. Out of that, we Super just kind of organically happened. People asking me to tutor their kids. And the next thing I know, I had 14 children full-time in my basement teaching multi-grade levels like a one-room schoolhouse.
And you take that to today. What are you now?
Today, we are a chartered non-public with the state of Ohio. We have 50 staff members. Majority of my teachers have their master's in special education. We service children from autism to Down syndrome, dyslexia, ADHD, bipolar. We really have the alphabet soup in our building. We own a former school building, Lakemore Elementary School. We purchased that 10 years ago. And we service kids grades K through 23s, which the 23s is a distinction category that the state gives for children that are over the age of graduation, up to age 22, that need some more vocational skills, a little more extra TLC. And last year we were able to partner with the Akron Rotary Club. And that's where our kids go over for vocations, and they work on horticulture, event planning, some maintenance types of things, hospitality type oriented careers, so that they can get some job skills under their belt, among other types of job skills for them.
Become productive citizens.
Absolutely.
You are graduating so many success stories, one after another.
Absolutely. Our kids are amazing.
I think folks would be very surprised to find out the success you've had with some of the challenges, like teaching children with autism, teaching children who are on the spectrum. And when you say bipolar, my goodness, Lynn, tell me a little bit about what these programs look like.
Well, I'm very, very blessed. At Super, our staff is extremely committed to the special needs population. Majority of my staff have a very close relative that has a child or maybe their own child that falls into a category of a disability. So many of us go home to it, eat, drink, live, sleep, special needs. And we just over the years have grown and morphed into so many different types of interventions. We have the traditional speech and occupational therapy in our building, as well as our building is very strongly oriented into the sensory breaks and sensory diets. Every classroom has a sensory area set up. We're working a lot with the zones of regulation where children, Michelle Garcia Winner found in zones of regulation, where children are able to communicate based on color coding where they are on an emotional scale. And then on those emotional scales, we've come up with different types of interventions to bring, because ultimately we want everybody to be at green where they're happy and enjoying life and doing well. But they let us know when they're getting into yellow, which means they're starting to have a little bit of frustration here. How do we get you back to green? And definitely we don't want to go into the red zone.
Yeah.
So we have those options as well. We also have life skill classes and socialization classes and chapel and daily devotions and Bible classes. And we work in the community. We have our population that goes out and volunteers in the community. Quite a bit of the kids that are at the high school level have the opportunities to work in food banks that are local to Lakemore, as well as the backpacks for kids. They've also stuffed backpacks with school supplies. Last year, I think, we gave about 650 out.
Wow. What do you find happens with children when they are getting out of their own heads, getting out of themselves and thinking about somebody else ahead of themselves and working in this kind of a volunteer arena? Does that affect the emotional growth?
Absolutely. That's biblical.
Yeah.
They're sowing. They're giving. They are stepping into the footsteps of Christ and showing the value of another person, which ultimately brings value to themselves.
Do you find, Lynn, that more children are diagnosed with learning disabilities than before, or are we just better at diagnosing it?
I believe we're better at diagnosing it. We all have friends that we can remember from elementary school, middle school, high school, that it's like, oh, that one had a hard time with reading, or that one might have just didn't fit in with everybody else. Everybody has that story that they can think of, but society has done a great job with the neurologists and the psychologists and the school psychologists and the other support systems to be able to give parameters for these varying levels of disability, which the parameters give us an opportunity to be able to come up with interventions that are developmentally appropriate.
Where did you come up with, because it seems like you have come up with techniques that are uniquely yours, that are just groundbreaking.
Yeah, we have. I can't take credit for that. That is not me. That just comes straight from the mind of Christ.
Yeah.
He just drops it in. And my staff is the same way. They love the Lord, and they're willing to think out of the box and do things that are non-traditional. And something drops into your spirit. It's like, well, let's give it a shot. And the first thing you know, it works for 100 kids.
Oh, there's something to that.
And the Lord, ultimately, He loves them far more than we ever could. And we tell our kids they're created on purpose for a purpose. And He knows that purpose, and He knows what's going to lead the trajectory of that purpose for their lives. And we take it very seriously at Super to take time to get to know that child, to pray for that child, to engage ourselves into their lives. My teachers go to baseball games and swim meets, and they're out roller skating right now with the contingency of the school. We also have, opportunities that we're invited to their birthday parties. Sometimes we're their friends when they first start down the road with us. And, some of our kids have never had a birthday party, and then all of a sudden you may have 12 teachers show up at their party with some other, classmates.
How neat.
And when all of those things start happening, the kids start opening up, and they start telling you, hey, this works. I like it when you do this.
Well, I'm thinking that in a traditional classroom, you try to get everybody to be the same.
Yes.
Yes. And I was a classroom teacher. You have the goal for everybody to get to this point, and some are going to get there faster than others. Some are going to get there more slowly, and everyone's going to get there a little bit differently, but that's where you're trying to get them to be. This is a completely different idea where you come as you are.
Right.
We love you as you are. You are made exactly the way God wanted you to be made.
Exactly.
For a reason.
With the kids understanding that. This year our scripture has been, perhaps this is for the moment you were created. Because we've had so many things happen this year that have even challenged us to be able to challenge the kids in good ways. Like our production is going to be over the top in May, but that's going to allow the kids that have more theatrical talents to have an opportunity to shine, as well as our kids that are more artistic to be able to do all the props.
Wow.
And of course, that has to be driven by staff. So everybody's working late, but that's okay.
But having fun doing it.
And our student council has been, the last 3 years, the student council as a whole has been phenomenal at getting the rest of the kids rallied around. Let's do this. This is fun. Let's do that. This is fun. I mean, they've even challenged the last couple of years the local fire department to come down and play kickball. They come down and play kickball the last day of school. And the first time it wasn't a surprise to our staff, but it was to the local fire department. The kids had water balloons waiting on the firemen.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. And then the firemen, of course, had to turn the trucks on the kids. So staff, student,
a little
kids.
bit of a leg up, yeah.
But, this is wonderful because it promotes community involvement. Now these kids aren't hesitant to approach the community workers.
Right. They're seen as people and as friends and as caring for them as well.
They've been amazing at even coming in about 8 years ago when we had quite a contingency of severe autism. It kind of dropped in my heart when we were doing fire prevention. They sound like Darth Vader when they're walking down the hallway.
I never thought of that.
So you have a special needs child, and you have
that sound.
You have a firefighter coming down the hallway calling for you through their mask, and it sounds like Darth Vader. no wonder some of the kids were hiding. And you see on the news kids that were severely burned because they hid from the firemen.
That is quite an insight.
So those types of things, God's been really good to give us the opportunity to see through their eyes.
Now, we want to point out, this is not supplemental to school. This is not a center they come to after school as an after-school program. This is school.
They're there. We service 32 districts.
Beginning what age?
Well, we've gone back and forth. We've had kindergarten multiple times. It kind of depends on kindergarten whether we have enough kids. Looks like we'll have enough kids again in the fall for kindergarten. And we have children all the way to age 22.
Through 22.
22.
Pretty awesome. Okay, where are you located, Lynn?
We're in Lakemore in Springfield Township. And if you're familiar with where the Goodyear Blimp hangar is, you're over off of 224. We're only about 3 miles from there, right by the lake.
And how can people do some kind of a tour, or do you have open houses or any kind of a tour day, or any day is tour day?
Well, we always offer tours. There's always somebody coming through the building. But our academic fair is always the Thursday before Good Friday. And usually we have 500 to 600 people come through and see the projects that the kids have done.
Cool.
The kids do a visual display as well as they give an oral report. It's kind of like a huge science fair, but it's everybody in the building. And we can have topics from Labrador retrievers to the Holocaust. I mean, it's just really neat to see the diversity of what the kids study. And that gives us also an opportunity to see how well they engage with people coming into the building that they're not normally accustomed to and working with. That gives us an opportunity for our high school students in particular to see how they work with other people coming into their space and be like, oh, we need to work on this skill so that we could buff it up a little bit for communications, for a job interview, et cetera. So it gives us a chance to kind of see outside of their world.
Is Super Learning Center listed as a Christian school? It is faith-based.
Yes. Technically, the name on the charter is Super Learning Center's Faith Christian Academy.
Faith Christian Academy.
So, yes, we're listed as a school that is faith-based.
And how do you incorporate all that? I know you said that you worship together. Tell me what that looks like.
Well, we have chapel every Friday. We've been very blessed to have multiple pastors that have come in and even have pastors on staff that take time to take that chapel service. We've had alum come back and conduct service for the kids.
Wow.
The kids also have, we call them PLCs. The PLCs are broken down by their age group because we have elementary, middle school, and high school all in one building. During the PLCs, we have a school chaplain that goes in and works with the kids at varying ages and kind of connects with them where an elementary school kid would connect on a lesson, as well as the teachers have daily devotions, and we use Christian curriculum. So
which one?
We use a combination, actually. We like Abeka, we like Bob Jones, we like Alpha Omega. It depends on that class and what that skill set is. So we kind of mix a lot of things together.
When you're interacting many children of different age groups and different levels of development and so forth, tell me what happens there. That used to be a very cool thing. I always thought of a one-room schoolhouse, that the older kids sometimes took the younger kids under their wing. When you have everybody together up to age 22.
It's still that way.
Talk about
very
the interaction.
Much so. Our environment, for example, we don't have school assemblies. We have family meetings.
Neat.
And very frequently you'll see the older kids mentoring the younger kids, especially, I'll give you an example. I was doing a tour one time, and it's not common that I do tours because I'm doing so much behind the scenes. And I was called to fill in, so I was doing a tour. And I was coming down the hallway, and there was a new student that was new to the school that year. And he was just being a first grader, just being silly, just being a first grader. But it was at the time of transition from lunch when my seniors were coming out of lunch. And he did cross the bar just a little bit, they test. And I was going up the hallway, and I heard one of my seniors say, I know you're new to this school, but that's Mrs. G, and we all respect her. And we do what she says the first time she says it.
Wow.
And, hey, little buddy, next time Miss G does something, what are you going to do? And he says, I'm going to listen. He goes, all right, give me a high five. I got to get to class. So those are just natural organic opportunities that our older kids take to just
But
kind of give a little extra love.
having that come from a fellow student that
they
he
look up
to.
Yeah.
Yes.
It happened to be class president that year.
Oh,
so, yeah.
my. Yes, that would have a lot of weight.
It sure does. And we take the opportunity for the student council to come up before chapel and introduce themselves frequently. And they go into the lunches. When we're going to have an event such as our fall dance or play, they go into the lunches with the younger kids and invite them to come. And
that, again, that means so much.
the camaraderie.
Yes.
And just next Saturday, our cheerleading group, which I know is near and dear to your heart,
It
cheering. They are going to be at a special needs competition for cheering. And I've already heard that quite a few of our teachers and our older upperclassmen are planning on attending to support them.
so cool.
So it's just fun.
So much going on. Well, I just looked at the clock. We really got to take a short break and
Okay.
let somebody do a commercial here.
All right.
But we'll be back with Lynn Goodwin-Shaver and Super Learning Center after these words. You're listening to Our Community.